Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Spotlight brought to you by Georgetown NAACP number 5520. We will have a good one for you today. Please allow me to bring on my co-host, Mr. Marvin Neal, president of Georgetown NAACP number 5520. What's going on, Mr. Neal?
How's it going, Deontay?
All right. Good one today for him. How you
Yeah,
been today?
it's been good today, man. I've been out on tour to Plantersville and good bike ride, 12 miles. They had the 25 miles and 62 miles. So it was some riding today, man. The weather was great. A little mist, which kept everything cooled down.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a great day, man. Great food, great turnout, man. Every day it gets larger and larger. So it's a great fundraiser for the Village Group and those kids and stuff that attends the summer academy here in Plantersville and the Carvers Bay and just Georgetown. You know, kids come from everywhere to go to that academy, man. They have a waiting line every year trying to get in there. Very dynamic academy and stuff. Sponsored by the Village Group. Ray Fundy is the founder of that organization, and his wife Queen is the director. So it's a great organization to have in the community, man. Bring a lot of
Oh
life
yeah.
back to the community. Kids, man, out there picking up trash on the side, teaching the importance of the environment and keeping it clean. And I mean, just kids them got their own bikes and stuff. We sponsors children with bike. If anyone want to sponsor a child, help buy them a bike and stuff, just reach out to the Village Group and stuff, and or just help them sponsor during the summer and stuff, during the summer academy. Really does a great job. Keep the
Oh
kids
yeah.
them where they need to be. That's what strengthen the school systems like Carvers Bay and those other schools and stuff. These rural Title I schools. Those are the infrastructure that's built to strengthen those shortfalls, man. That's what we have to do, step in that gap. So the Village Group is one of those organizations that really fills that gap, and pushes the kids to the next level, man. That's why Carvers Bay is where they are right now in the state because of the Village Group and organizations of that nature. They're pretty much the sole cause. That type of organization, in which they stand firm for a number of years now. So and doing some greater things, man. We got the
Okay.
scenic byway coming through Plantersville, man, from St. Paul Park to Rocky Point Park. I mean, you can just ride bike and stuff, man, and just view the great nature and stuff and the culture of Plantersville, one of the most historical community in the United States, because it's where the rice crops was grown and enslaved people, man, where they just did a great work, man, for free, and still haven't been paid yet. But we're not going to go into that subject today. But, Plantersville is great, man. And really a lot of great things coming right now back to Plantersville. The plantations are opening up, to the communities and actually trying to help build back some of that legacy that was pretty much taken away. They don't talk about critical race theory in Plantersville. We talk about history, man, real history. And that's why people come here. That's what makes it so rich.
Let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Upcoming elections. What do the people need to know?
Oh man, where you want to start, man? You want to start with the potential problems, or you want to start with what's going on right now? You know,
Let's
uh,
talk about the issues and bring it back to what's going right.
well, the issues, man. As of the last election, man, there were some critical issues, man. Voters intimidation. People sitting outside of polls now. Supposedly on private property with AR-15s at some of the polling sites and stuff of that nature. But nobody is scared of that stuff, man. Just an intimidation factor, man. You see candidates now being attacked. Nancy Pelosi husband, he's recovering from a brain injury, cracked skull, man. I don't know the full gist on it yet, but man, I understand he was attacked. Just people just being attacked, elected officials, man, especially those that's fighting for voting rights and women's rights to choose. And it's amazing, man, how people attack people that fights for the rights of people, humanity. Just their civil rights, man. Just think about John Lewis. He was attacked on the Edmund Pettus Bridge more than one time. But that time was devastating. Fought to his death, man, for voting rights. And one of the things we're still fighting for today is voting rights. You know, If we get those 2 more senators, if we could hold on and add on 2 more senators, that is the key. Whatever state is in, make sure there are 2 more senators that looking at the issues of Black people that affects us. Because it's just an act. The Voting Rights Act is just an act, and it's about Black people. That act is about Black people and people of color,
Okay. So with the upcoming elections, when can people vote and where can people vote?
People would vote right now, man. Up until the 5th of November, they could vote early elections, early voting. It started on the 24th, the 24th. And they could vote at the Choppy site, Recreation Center. You could vote at the Andrews Recreation Center. You could vote at Litchfield Exchange in Merles and Lap. And you could also vote at the election office from 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So those 9 till 6 o'clock in the afternoon. But man, you could vote anywhere right now, man. In Georgetown, you could vote at any one of those sites. You don't have to wait. You don't have to, if you're in Georgetown or you're in Merle's or you're in Choppy or in Andrews, you can just stop and vote.
Regardless of your district, you can vote at any open site.
Any open site right now, regardless of your district. You can walk into with your driver's license, your hunting, your carry-on permit. You can walk into, with your ID from the voters registration office. You can just walk in right now and just vote, man, with the proper ID and stuff. And one of the key too, also, Deontay, is people need to really go on lcvote.gov and check their registration. Check that before they even go down there. Because, they're having not a lot, but some people are having issues with that also. You have your address one place, but you're trying to vote in another place. So go on to lcvote.gov and check your voter's registration card. Make sure everything is correct on there and your address and stuff is correct. If you have any issues, call the election office in Georgetown, 303, or just stop by at 303. It's at South Fraser Street. Yeah.
Okay. So from what I understand, there's an upcoming candidates forum. Tell us about that.
The candidate forum, that's hot, man. That's that large seat for the school board candidates. All the election is hot, but I think just the tension that's going on right now in the schools, especially in Georgetown, with all the issues and success, in Georgetown. We have both here. We deal with both. We watch what's going on, but we also celebrate the success of Georgetown County School District also. So it depends on who's sitting in those seats, man. Right now you have 3 candidates. You have Dr. Mike Farrell. You have Ms. Kathy Fadon Anderson. Both are retired teachers, and Dr. Anderson, I think, right at 30 years. Dr. Mike Farrell, I think he's right at 40 some years of teaching in administration, and right at 30 some years. And he's still teaching right now. He's teaching history, as a matter of fact, in St. James Elementary School. Wow. So, hard to serve, that's a hard to serve when you continue to teach even after you retire. And I think a lot of retirees really need to go back and teach. What I'm saying? Not sit on the clock, but go back and teach. Some want to retire and go back and sit on the clock and draw the same money they've been getting. That's not fair to those that's trying to come into the system. And those that's graduating from college and these HBCUs, we need to get back into the school systems, keep our children at home. We don't need no retirees sitting in those key positions, man. We need folks moving up that's already served for a number of years and just trying to move on with their career. We don't have to hold it for a lifetime. Just go ahead and give it to somebody else. You don't have to pass the torch. Just light somebody else's. Mm-hmm. So it's important to do that.
So, Mr. Neal, why is there only 3 candidates featured in this forum?
Well, because this is a at-large seat, and the at-large seat really covers. You could reach out to any at-large candidate from anywhere in the county, any schools in the county. They cover the whole county. That's a countywide election, which is huge. So those votes are critical at all times. And you have to be able to reach those candidates. And you definitely want experienced people in those seats. You know what I'm saying? Because when you reach out, you don't need somebody who's trying to, trying to learn from the curve and stuff and learn as they go. We need somebody that can walk into those seats and actually operate, know when someone called them, know what they're talking about, because that is critical. Because you have these children now, man, they want answers, and these parents, they need answers. With all the critical race theory myths and all this other stuff that's going on, man, you can't have that stuff going on. Children need to know, what is that, and why are we talking about stuff like that? Why can't we be taught the history, which includes Black history and what happened during those times? So these are some of the things that they need to know, and these candidates, they need to answer those questions. What are you about? Why and why not? These questions need to come out. It's going to come up from the people. The people need to ask some questions. We're going to have some key questions, but the key is, I don't have any children in the school district, but I look at all the school districts with an interest, because all the children belong to us at some point or the other. The village have to raise the children. They always did, and these children need the village. So we need to know who's coming in and stuff. And parents need to come out and ask questions, and ask why these things are not happening. Ask, why don't you have, you got a 50-50 ratio school district. You need to ask those questions. Why don't the teachers side looks that way? Why aren't the employment looking that way? Why aren't the salary looking that way? These things need to be asked, and we don't need to be playing with it. You know what I'm saying? We need to ask those questions. Why aren't the administration looking that way? Those things are critical. Our children need to look at someone Black when they walk into some of these school districts. Some of these school districts, some schools don't have any Black in it for a child to reach out to. Maybe the cafeteria worker and the custodian, but from an educational standpoint, some of these children have no one to look at that look like them and ask the question, why is this happening to me, until they get home. And these are children from first grade to 12th, K through 12. And that's sad. We don't need to hear, well, it's been like this when I got here, or this is what I've met here. If you see that, you change it. It ain't new that you met it there. You met it there from day one. Now we on day 1,000. We don't need to be hearing that language anymore. We need to know, what are you doing about it? Because the opportunities is here, the people is here, the experience is here, the skill sets is here. So why not put it in place? That's the question.
So if you're just joining us, thank you for tuning in to Spotlight, brought to you by Georgetown NAACP number 5520. We're talking about the School Board Candidates Forum that we're sponsoring on November 3rd, 6 p.m. at the Shoppy Rec Center. And it will feature the 3 candidates for the at-large seats. And if you don't know, there are actually 2 seats available, but there are 3 candidates. The incumbents for those seats are Kathy Ferdon Anderson and Dr. Mike Cafaro. And the challenger is Mr. Robert Cox. This is very important. Why is this school board election so important, Mr. Neal?
Well, if you look at over the past years, since 1997, and we were looking at a consent decree that was put in place because of the unfairness of hiring practices, children not getting the same materials, not getting the same amount of teachers, not getting the material, not getting the equipment, not getting the technology. All these things are critical in the school. It was the have and have-nots when the consent decree was put into place. So, and that's still challenged today. Some of the things that majority have been corrected, but one thing have not been corrected is the hiring of administrators, Blacks in the administration and teaching positions in Georgetown County. Okay, there's still some unfair hiring practices that's going on. The question is, who will challenge that? That's what's going on to the school board. These are critical questions, and that needs to be asked. You're looking at salary in the school district. We fought, we got it up to $13 an hour. That's critical, but that's not enough. We need to get it up to at least $16 to $18 an hour. Yeah, we fighting for the minimum wage. What we think it is $15 an hour, That's what they're saying across the board. But Georgetown was $16.54 an hour. Okay. So that's what we are fighting for. So, and we're going to continue to fight for that. And people need to know that. We don't need to play with it. That's what we're going to fight for. So whoever's going to that seat, that question needs to be asked. Are you still fighting for that minimum wage? Because we have custodians, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, assistant, and all these folks, they still sitting at the minimum wage. You know, it went up to $13 an hour, but that's still not enough. We have to get it up there where people could go from their job to their home, help their children with their schoolwork so they'd be prepared for the next day. Not leave the job to go to a job so they could afford to eat or their children could afford to eat. And the children is manning themselves at home trying to get schoolwork done, and they come home too tired to deal with it. That's critical. And see, sometimes we overlook those points. Parents are just not home. And there's a lot of single parent home in Georgetown here. So when you say, where did we fall off at? It starts with pay. You got to pay the people, not just the top. You have to pay the people a livable wage.
And I just want to remind everybody that the school board candidate race is nonpartisan. So if you wrote straight ticket, you have to go down and select the school board candidates that you want to vote for. Again, school board race is a nonpartisan race. So what that means is if you wrote straight ticket, Republican, Democrat, whatever it may be, make sure that you still select the school board members that you want to vote for. What else do the people need to know about these elections, Mr. Neal? Who else is running?
Well, we have the governor's race, Joe Cunningham and Governor Mike Masters. And all those things need to remind people, if you like where you are, keep what you got. If you don't like where you are, make a change. Bottom line. I don't tell people who to vote for, but when you have Medicare and funding coming in that's being turned away, you know what I'm saying? That's a no-no. Right now, we're still waiting on funds from the last storm, Hurricane Ian. That haven't showed up yet. I'm hearing all kinds of stuff that haven't showed up. To Georgetown County, it haven't. And you call the number that they give you, it just rang through, and no one have any answers. You call the State House, well, the governor have signed it as sitting on President Biden's desk. I understand that is not the case. Nothing made it past. Nothing made it to the President Biden's desk yet. Okay. You have the state superintendent of education. You have Lisa Ellis, which is running as a Democrat, and in the Alliance Party, you can only vote for one, either Alliance or Democrat. You have Patricia Mickles, she's running for the Green Party, and you have Ellen Weaver, Republican. I understand she's still trying to get certified. Well, trying to meet the requirements to run. So I guess I understand she's in some school now, but that's what we are dealing with. You have the Commissioner on Agriculture, Chris Nellums, David Edmond, and Hugh Weathers, which is the Republican. And then you have the write-in. Every one of these seats has a write-in. You have U.S. Senate, Tim Scott, and Crystal Matthews, Democrat. You have a write-in also. U.S. House of Representatives, District 7. House of Representatives, District 7. You have Russell Fry, and you have Darrell Scott, Democrat. Comptroller General, you have Richard Ekstrom, uncontested. Attorney General, you have Alan Wilson, uncontested. The State Treasurer, you have Curtis Lofus, Republican, and Sarah Works, Alliance. Secretary of State, you have Mark Hammond, Republican, and Rosamonda Peggy Butler. So you have Peggy Butler, Democrat, Mark Hammond, Republican, for Secretary of State. You have, you could either vote, you could pull straight party, Democrat, or straight party, Republican. But one thing you also have to do, like Vice President Deontay Winchester stated, that you have to go down and make sure you look at their school board race, because you also have Mr. DuBose and Lynn Ford in that race. Okay, that's an interesting race. That district was formed, not formed, but reorganized, which put Lynn Ford in a tailspin there to run for school board. Even though she have 2 years on this same term, she have to run again because of the district that she's in. She was put in. She have to run again in order to get back within the district she is in. She's running against Mr. DuBose. Lynn Ford, that's a nonpartisan. You have Keith Moore also running for school board of education. He's running uncontested, so, and I understand he's a decent guy too. So, and that race is that's one of the most contentious race right now, that especially that large seat. That's huge. That's huge. So look at the ballot, get educated, go to the forums. The last forum for the district for the at-large seat is November 3rd at 6:00 at the Choppy Recreation Center. Please come out. Even if you have already cast your vote, come out so you could get informed, because you might cast your vote for someone you really don't know. And once you're informed, you might be able to encourage somebody else to vote the other way because of what you understood coming out of that forum. And you get the opportunity to ask your question again. There were several forums across the county. We just did not want the western side of Georgetown to be left out, the rural community. They need to know who's running. So that's why this forum is taking place on Thursday, November 3rd at 6:00. All the candidates have accepted to be there, so please come out.
And we want this to be less like a debate and more like a town hall forum. The people will have their way. If you want to know what the people that are running for your vote stand on, ask them that question, and they will answer it right there live in front of you. Mr. Neal, if there are any troubles at the polling locations, what do the people do?
The people really need, if they have trouble at the polling location, do not disturb the voting process. Go outside or wait till things settle down. Talk to the poll clerk. The clerk, not the managers. Talk to the poll clerk. And if the managers are there, you can relate to them, but they need to talk to the poll clerk. The clerk is in charge of the poll, not the managers. And if that clerk can't answer their question, they will contact the voters registration office, which is Alpha McCray. Very well qualified young lady that does a great job. I've really settled this election down. Very non-biased. She walks straight down that line. Very smart. She have done the work and just totally revamped that whole website for the Georgetown County election. I think it's a model website. If you go in there, you'll find everything you need, from absentee ballot, how to vote, how to check your registration card, how long you have before the election to register to vote. You name it, it's on there. It's at a first grade level. You could go on there and figure out what your issues are. So everybody should be able to know how to vote. You can even register to vote on there. Everything you need to do is right there. And if there's any problems beyond that, threats and stuff of that nature, you need to dial 1-866 our vote, and that's a nonpartisan legal assistance. This coming from the ACLU, the South Carolina Progressive Network Education, South Carolina NAACP State Conference, ACLU of South Carolina AFL-CIO, and the National Lawyers Committee. We will have people on the ground here in Georgetown during the election, and every other county will have someone on the ground during the election. We have brought in at least 46 attorneys for this election in the state of South Carolina. So that's where we are. We don't want something to happen, but if something happened, we want to make sure that people could respond to the needs of the people and think they could be taken care of. One more thing on the election. If you go to a polling site and there's some errors where you can't vote at that site because of errors on the MacBook there, make sure that you do a provisional ballot. But once you do that provisional ballot, the certification that comes that Thursday following the election or whatever day they set, make sure you go there when they review the provisional ballot, because you have to be on site for that ballot to count if the corrections are made or if there's any correction that can be made. But you need to be there for that vote to count. So keep in mind, once you do the provisional ballot, you need to ask them at the polling site, when do I go to make sure my vote count or get answers on my vote? And that will be at the election commission when they certify the election and stuff at the county level.
Okay. Are there any other community events and updates that the people need to hear about?
Well, one thing, Deontay, there will be some signs out in the areas pretty near some of the polling sites. The one we pretty contentious and stuff. We have signs out in the area where numbers where people could call and dial those numbers. We'll put out some signs, in some of the churches and stuff in that area to make sure people will have a number that they could call just in case they have questions. Anyone could call this number if they have problems. Anyone could call this number because we don't need no problems wrong with our election, And there's also 2 amendments on the ballots this year. 2 amendments, and the amendments pretty much is Section 36A, Article 3 of the Constitution of the state relating to the General Reserve Fund. And they are asking to increase that fund from 5% to 7%, because during the pandemic, that fund almost ran out, which could have created some problems here for us in the state. There's another one, 36B, Article 3 of the Constitution of the state. That's another amendment of the Capital Reserve Fund, and then action to increase that fund by 2%, which will go from 2% to 3% on the same election. You could either vote yes or vote no. That's your choice and stuff. But the fund is to increase the amount in the reserve so they have some funds to reach back into just in case we have another COVID-19 like pandemic where the economy shuts down. So we have funds to run the state off and stuff. So that's what it's all about. It's revenue and reserve. So let's make sure we exercise your rights. You got Amendment 1 and Amendment 2. I already voted, so don't ask me what I voted and stuff, but I'd rather plan ahead than be waiting behind me for something to happen.
We have Mr. Hutchinson who's saying that we pay taxes that are way too high and feels that he has a problem with the governor. That's called motivation. Make sure that we vote and get the right person in that seat.
Yeah, taxes are too high. And Richie, he lives in Florida where there is no state tax. So he's living the dream. He's a prior military service and stuff, disabled veteran. And he understands exactly what he's talking about. What he's talking about, he fought for. He wear the flag every day. So it is too high in South Carolina, And the electrical bills are too high in South Carolina. Everything is too high in South Carolina.
Agreed. So, Mr. Neal, is there any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with before we get up out of here?
Well, this election really it's bigger than even from the national down. You're talking about women's rights to choose. Okay, it's critical. That's what you're voting for. You have a reason to vote. Whether you vote is your choice, but there's a reason to vote. You still have voting rights on the line. You have your right to choose, whether you want, whether it's gender neutral or what. It's about justice, it's about democracy, and it's about time now that we vote for it. We have more than over 100 years. We've been the leading advocate for social justice and equality for people of color since 1909. Thousands of advocates like you have helped lead the fight for freedom, justice, and equality. It don't stop. It don't stop because you don't vote. We're going to continue to fight, but it only gets easier for us, people of color. We don't have a right to vote yet. It's just an act. So let's fight for that Voting Rights Act to be passed into bill so we could really say we are free American. You're not free because freedom is not free. We're still fighting for it. I keep quoting this quote from W.B.D. Boers, where he said, now is the accepted time. Not tomorrow, not some more convenient season. It is today that our best work can be done. And I say that because, Deontay, if we don't think this is the accepted time for our best work to be done, we need to look at what happened on January 6th that we are still fighting for right now. And it's going to continue. We have to hold that House and that Senate for justice to be served to an insurrectionist president and those that invaded the U.S. Capitol, disgraced the U.S. Capitol, disgraced America, period. Whoever was there, I think all of them need to be charged, not just the one that went inside, the one that influenced, instigated, because they are all an accessory to what happened. Everyone that put foot on that Capitol ground that they need to be arrested and charged. They need to be reminded that, America didn't get to be America because of situations like that. Blacks could not have done that. That would have been a red. They wouldn't be out there with no baton and flags sticking nobody. It'd have been AR-15s, M16s, floating with blood coming down the streets and stuff, and the bodies of Black people. So always remember that. It wasn't Black people climbing these walls out there and beating policemen. It wasn't Black people. Those that did that need to be punished. From the president of the United States at that time, which was Donald J. Trump, the insurrectionist president, twice impeached, needs to go to jail for what he have done, because he incited this, sat in the highest position in the nation, the president of the United States. So remember that.
Thank you so much, everyone. Make sure that you get out to vote. Voting starts now. You have 4 locations to choose from. You have Litchfield Exchange. You can go to the Shapley Rec Center. You can go to the voting office right there in Georgetown off of Hazard Street. And what's the 4th one, Mr. Neal?
4th one is Litchfield Exchange and Andrews Recreation Center.
Andrews Rec. Make sure that you get out there. You do not need an excuse to vote early. Just go out there, show your ID. You don't have to vote in your district. Just go to any open location. We have our school board candidates forum on November 3rd, 6 p.m. Make sure that you're there. And that's for the at-large candidates. Make sure that you're there. Make sure that you ask them the questions that you need answered.
Vote.
Vote. As we
Don't
always
take it lightly. Vote. If you look at Georgia, it'll give you a reason to vote in South Carolina. Just look at Georgia. It will give you a reason to vote in South Carolina. And that ignorance is everywhere. Some people are running for office and don't have a clue, have not even engaged in any type of civic, not even a mentorship program, but running for government office to serve the people. And the only thing that they have ever served was themselves. And some of them didn't even have the intellect to serve themselves, but they're trying to serve you. So be careful. If I want a doctor, if I got a medical problem, I'll get me a doctor. I don't need a football player. We need to really wake up and smell the coffee. And skin tone sometimes don't depict who we are. Our action does. So let's make sure we look at the real story here, what's going on. And don't let people use you, people of color, to stop your freedom, because that's what it's all about. They'll use any one of us to stop us, our freedom, Black people. So that's what it's all about. It's about the Black people, the Black vote, and what Blacks have done from the history to everything else, invention. It's all about stop those Black people. It ain't about the Mexicans coming over the border to take no jobs. It ain't about that.
You most certainly have to know who you're voting for. You got people running for school board and council seats and never attended a council or school board meeting. Ain't that something?
Never come in there with that same mind frame that they are businessmen. What is that? What is that? Okay.
Mm-mm-mm. Thank you all for viewing Spotlight, brought to you by Georgetown NAACP number 5520. As we always say, we love you all.
And one more thing, Deontay, I don't want to miss on this one. We have a county council race on the way also.
Okay.
District 7, we missed that. That's with Louis Morant, who's now serving, and David Ballard.
That's a big one.
That's a huge race.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge race. You know, that's a huge race. County council will make the decision on whether you will have affordable housing, whether you will have paved streets in your community, whether you will have water and sewage and clean water. Okay? That's what county council does. That's what it does. The state have roads, the county have roads also. County council make sure you have parks. Well, they're responsible to make sure you have parks in your community, recreation center in your community, ditches cleaned, roads cut. So go out and ask the question. Don't read all that junk that's coming out. Ask them the question, what have you done? What have you done? And those that's running, ask them what are they going to do new. If you like what you got, what's gone, keep them. If you don't like what you got, get rid of them. But there's a lot that happened in the county over the past year here. And like I said before, some county councilmen, I'm not talking the ones that are running now, have made some decision that has affected the Black community on this affordable housing that needs to be dealt with. Because we're going to speak for our people, the bottom line.
Always.
Thank you.
Thank you. We out of here. Take care.
Okay, take care. Thank you, Deontay.